let's outline the plot for our lovely
I don't
listeners.
think we can.
Who wants to volunteer?
What
Okay.
happened?
I'll give it a go.
Matt's going to give it a go. Okay, Matt's going to give it
So
a go.
there is Johnny and I can't remember what her name was. Lisa are engaged and they're going to be married in 3 weeks and then 4 weeks and then some indeterminate amount of period of time,
They've been together 5 years.
and 7 years,
at the same time.
depending on which one of them you ask. But Lisa seems to think it's a lot longer.
Yeah. Well, don't forget that third day is like half the movie as well.
Yeah.
It's a very long one day.
So, and then Lisa seems to be having second thoughts about getting married to him for some reason.
Because he's boring.
Yes.
And he buys her things.
He bought her a house.
That's
and a
why
car,
he's boring.
And he's boring.
Yeah.
All he
Yeah.
does is buy her things and have sex with her,
But
and
her
she's
mum
bored.
says her mum's adamant that she should marry him for her security.
Because she
For
can't
the
look after
money,
herself.
basically.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
possibly look after. So she must marry him for your security, but I don't love him. So
That's not
Yeah.
really
Anyway, carry on.
Yeah.
Again, so she has a conversation with her mother where her mother says basically, yeah, it doesn't matter if you don't love him, just marry him for his money.
Yeah.
Because he's going to get a promotion soon.
yeah.
Ooh.
And then after that, she begins an affair with his best friend, who is Mark.
Mark, yep. Hi, Mark.
Who
Oh,
again,
hi,
What's
Mark.
new with you?
How's
who
your
again
sex life?
has pretty much zero personality.
Yeah.
He doesn't
Yeah.
really. It doesn't really have a lot.
The
More
only
about
aspect of his personality that I've actually managed to pick up is he blames everything on everybody else.
Yes.
Like nothing is his fault ever. Anything that
Yeah.
goes wrong, even if he's actively taken part in it, it's somebody else made him do it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
his defining trait.
grabbed his hands and put them on his ears.
So
Yeah.
what could he do other than have sex with
And
her?
his
No,
def-
yeah, because him, having sex there, he had absolutely nothing to do with that.
No.
And his defining trait is that he's Johnny's best friend, which he would say every 5 minutes.
Yes.
Even while
Yes.
he's having sex
Sex
with a
with-
girlfriend,
Yeah.
he will remind her he's Johnny's best friend.
Why
Yeah.
would you do this to me, Lisa?
Oh, and there's also there's also a guy called Danny or Denny,
Denny.
Oh yeah, the
Danny,
kid
yeah.
next
who
door.
is a kid who is kind of semi-adopted by Johnny.
Mm.
Kind of, yeah.
He's like 18 though.
Yeah, it's mentioned that he's
Has
on
no
his
family.
18th birthday. Johnny bought him a flat or rented him a flat,
Yeah.
but he was also still in school.
Yeah.
So
University,
it's kind
maybe,
of-
I don't know.
And they never say
No,
where
it said
this
in
flat
school.
is.
Yeah, but they call it school in America, I
Yeah.
think.
Do
I
they?
think,
Oh,
I think they
right,
just
okay,
say
yeah.
school
School,
for
yeah.
college and stuff.
So they go,
And he kind of turns up in quite a creepy way, quite often.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my favourite bit is
Often.
at the beginning. I just like to watch you guys.
Yes.
Yeah, he literally
And
walks
they're
in on them
literally
having
trying to
sex.
They're trying to get him to leave so that they can have sex.
No, so they can have a pillow fight.
Yeah.
Which he
Sort of
then
like
joins
Billy's
in.
on
But
to
he
a
does
roast
quite
thing,
often
Billy's on
just
to-
walk
Some
into
belly
their
button
house.
humping.
Yeah.
And then there's a kind of a subplot with him where he gets attacked by a drug dealer who's
Yeah.
very aggressively pointing a gun at him and very aggressively shouting about money.
Yeah.
And then Johnny and Mark take the drug dealer away, who then disappears and never ever comes back.
Yeah, that entire subplot is in that one scene.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that disappears.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then there's another scene where Lisa's mother says, "Oh, I have breast cancer," which again is never mentioned after that sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they immediately move on to something kind of very anodyne and banal after that, and then it is never ever mentioned again.
She does say it very flippantly as well. That's what really got me, because they're having a conversation beforehand, and it's like a list of things that
Yes.
went on. Like, I forgot to take the rubbish out. I don't know if I left the oven on, and I'm dying.
Yeah.
Well, I had
Yes.
the test results back. I have breast cancer. Anyway.
Anyway,
So-
you should stay with Johnny. 'cause
Yeah,
he's-
and still, but he hit me. Yeah, so what? Nobody seems to care about
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah,
a
she-
weird little side note. Yeah.
She keeps bringing it up, and nobody cares.
Yeah, Lisa kind of mentions to her friends to
Her friends who are introduced to us by wandering into their house and having sex.
starting to have
Yeah,
sex.
in
Yes.
their
Very,
house.
very old style porn style. Just random characters show up and are just having sex.
Although that guy has probably got the most facial expressions in the entire
Yes.
thing.
No, he has too many
He
facial
has too many.
expressions.
He's gone
He
the
has
other way.
all of the
He is
emotions.
everywhere. I think he's like a.
He stole the facial expressions.
He's like a facial expression like succubus. He's just taken them from everybody else. And he's got them all.
Yeah.
And they're there all at once.
Yes.
And,
There's
he
been
can't
there's
deal
a
with them.
government mandated number of facial expressions, and he pulls them all during that sex scene.
Usually
Yes.
while he's eating cake.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
he eats some cake in a
Or
weird
chocolate.
way.
He's always eating them.
Yeah.
He's eating
chocolate
cake.
or
Falling
cake
into a
and
bin
having an
getting
orgasm.
some sort of weird concussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was odd.
Yeah.
Again,
And
didn't
again,
go
didn't go
anywhere.
Film was
anywhere.
odd.
No.
So I'm lost already. On the
You
plot
got
of
to
this film.
those. What the fuck's going on?
Oh, her
That
friends.
was just a load of random scenes in the park and
Yeah. Oh, she tells her friends
Tuxedos
that
and-
Johnny has hit her, which he hasn't,
No.
Yeah.
and also that she's having an affair. She tells everybody she meets that he's hit her and she's having an affair.
Yeah.
No one seems to care about either of these things.
No. And it's only until later on when they have a party for Johnny's birthday that this guy, this is quite late in the film, last third I'd say, this guy Matt turns up and he's the only one who thinks anything of either of those facts.
Yeah, he has opinions on everything, and he's a brand new character, but he cares deeply about everything.
He
Yeah.
is very
and
invested.
then Johnny announces in a kind of very bored fashion that he and Lisa are expecting, which is
Yeah.
again is a lie that she told him to make things more interesting.
Yeah.
But after this announcement, I don't know if you've ever been in a room where a woman's announced that she's pregnant, everybody then goes and talks to the woman. Nobody went and spoke to Lisa except for the people to kind of complain about.
Yeah,
how
not even her own mother went to talk
Yes.
to her.
No.
Or the guy that she was having.
Or the guy that possibly was his baby. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then he did talk to her in the party afterwards and was like, oh, who's it? And she's like, oh, it's not real. And then triggered
Didn't
the
she
fight.
say it was none of his business? And
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it is, though,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Then
then
he-
they get continued to so then Johnny and Mark have a bit of a
Well, then they have
fight,
then
and
they have the
just
same
make
fight
up
scene.
immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they have the same fight scene twice.
Yeah, they go
Yeah,
out, they
exact-
come back in, and Lisa and Mark are just all over each other in the middle of this birthday party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their house,
Next
Johnny's
to
house,
her mother.
next to her mother, right there, and Johnny comes in and is like, "What are you doing?" And she's just like, "It's none of your business." It's like,
Yeah.
Again, it
"You
really
say,
is.
Of course it is. And then they have the exact same fight scene.
Yeah, the exact same scene plays out.
Yeah.
Then
Oh, and
as
there's the bit
before.
before that with the kind of psychologist.
Oh, yeah,
friend
Peter.
who Mark decides to just try to throw off a building, and then is like, "Oh, mate, yeah, no, I'm sorry."
Yeah, do it.
Yeah.
And he's like, "It's fine." I'm like,
But he-
Because both
his
of their
character
mums'
sort of
names is Martha.
disappears.
Yeah.
Yeah,
his
his-
character falls over and then we assume dies from it.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
never
his
did.
heart
Yeah.
Yeah.
exploded.
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is still an unexplained.
Yeah.
Maybe,
oh, there's a
though.
bit where
Actually, what he died from is that chicken thing, because that seems to be the worst possible thing you can do to
Yeah.
anyone is call them a chicken and
They
go,
called him a chicken, and then he killed him.
there's a scene
Yeah.
which
That went dark,
From the
Joe. That went
humiliation.
dark.
Wow.
He did seem to be the only person though who was aware that he was in this film.
yes.
Yeah.
He did
was.
make a lot of references to it.
Yeah,
I
he
don't know
seemed
if
to
that
be
was on
talking
Oh, I
to
think
the
the mum
audience a
did.
little bit.
Yes.
I think the mum did, because at one point she did go, "Who are these two characters?"
Yeah.
They've just wandered into the
Nobody
house.
We were
knows
all asking
now.
the
But
same
she
question.
is equally as not making any sense. Like the
She
guy.
was evil.
Yeah, she's just
Yeah.
horrible. They're all really
She
horrible,
was
except for
possessed
Matt.
by aliens.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
He just didn't want to be taken down with everybody else.
Even though it was unclear why that was.
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
We don't know
You're
who
going to
he
take
is.
us all down.
Maybe he was actually
Who
a
are
trained
you?
actor. He
Maybe.
really
No,
wanted to at the
I'm,
moment.
I'm pretty sure he was
No,
not.
I don't think so. It'd be nice though, wouldn't it? Though?
Yeah. But there is a scene where all the male characters are there kind of trying on their tuxedos, which at first you assume this must be the wedding scene.
Yeah.
But what happens is they put on their tuxedos. All the male characters arrive. They put on tuxedos. They go outside to the alleyway and they throw an American footballer back and forth for a little bit.
Yeah.
Then this guy Pete falls over
Yeah.
and is never ever seen or heard from again.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
they go back
Someone's
to
phone just
whatever
went off.
happened, and apparently, some 6 scenes later, it's apparently still the same day,
Yeah,
and they're not married yet. And it's like, wait, well, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit. Timeline's a bit
A
confusing.
lot of
Yeah.
it is very confusing.
Oh, and there's the occasional shots of just random buildings.
Oh yeah, there's
Yeah.
lots
What do you
of
mean
yeah.
occasional? Like it literally
Okay, all the
breaks
time.
up a scene to do a shot of
Yes.
a
Yeah.
city.
There's a
that's
lot of
nowhere
padding.
near where
There's a
they're
lot of
doing it.
padding the runtime.
yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of,
There's a moment where
Landscape shots.
where Mark and Johnny go to the park to throw this football out. They're obsessed with throwing this football
yeah,
out.
where they do it all the
And
time.
there's a big scene of them driving there, and they run down this park to chuck this football about for a bit.
They have a slightly gay fight.
slightly
as well.
gay
Yeah.
fight,
Kind of
yeah.
play fight.
And then it just cuts away, and that meant nothing.
No, it
No,
cuts
no,
away
what
to
happens?
Mark being at home with Lisa.
Yeah.
So he
And
has
then-
the fight with Johnny, gets a bit turned on, goes home to Lisa, and then
That's
after
true.
that he goes back
Back
to the
to
park
Johnny.
He was,
Yeah.
he
to
was
run
just
with
been stood there
Presumably,
waiting
yeah.
for him. The
And then they
entire
go
time to
running
back
through
to
the
his
park,
house.
Yeah.
and it's kind of like, what?
Yep.
What was the time scale
Yeah.
of that?
Yeah.
Nobody knows.
None of it was necessary, really.
None of that film was necessary.
No.
Really.
Yeah.
No,
It was-
but there's
So
a
then-
lot of scenes that aren't even necessary to the weird plot.
I find that with a lot of films that I think are truly terrible films, they do have just random shots of scenery for no reason.
Yeah.
Like there's a film called Elephant, which is terrible, but that, like, a huge amount of that is just shots of some clouds. And I think they're trying to be arty, but it's you just like, why am I staring at the sky right now? I don't like. I know what the sky.
Are you
looks
sure
like.
when the guy was editing it, he didn't kind of just walk away
Just
from the
drop the
film and
camera.
his screensaver came on?
Maybe
Maybe he
would
just
have
fell
solved it
asleep.
all.
Yeah. I was so bored even during the editing
Yeah, he
process.
just
he
fell
fell
asleep.
asleep. But yeah, the last kind of scene of the film is an argument between Johnny and Lisa. Although
I
first
don't
actually,
think you should give a spoiler here, though.
Really?
No, I think you need to
Yeah.
save it for people.
Save
Make
to
people
watch it.
endure to the end.
But yeah,
Okay.
basically it all comes slowly crashing down. It's always essentially the film's about their relationship and how it breaks down,
Yeah.
basically,
Yeah.
in a
Sorry.
nutshell.
Entirely
And,
caused by Lisa, I think.
Oh,
Yes.
she's foul.
Yeah.
She really is the epitome of
She just
bitch.
keeps
Yeah, you
saying,
have-
I don't love him. Oh, it's okay. Everything's gonna be okay. That's literally.
Yeah, people have weird reactions where they go absolutely hysterical and then say, "Oh, everything will be okay," to
But
reassure
don't
the other
worry,
person,
it'll
and
be
then
fine.
leave.
Can I just share this amazing trivia that I just read on the IMDb page for the room?
Please
Okay.
do.
Okay, because this is brilliant. Mark is named after Matt Damon. According to Sestero, Tommy Wiseau misheard the actor's name despite his obsession with the actor.
Wait.
So he thought
He's
he
named
was
after
Mark
Matt Damon because he thought Matt Damon's name was Mark Damon.
Yes. Yes, exactly. That's exactly what he said.
I don't know what to say about
I
that.
have no words.
I just thought I'd share that tidbit of amazingness with you.
That is
Beautiful.
First of all, why was he named after Matt Damon, regardless of whether he had the name wrong or not?
So he's
Well,
He
not
can't have been
that
that
obsessed.
obsessed.
but he
Didn't know his
doesn't know
name.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what according to Greg Sestero, who big fan.
I'm just trying to think. This is 2004.
Three.
Four. So what films would Matt Damon have done by that point?
I
That's
don't know,
quite
he must have
big.
done at
Yeah.
least the firstborn.
Saving.
Yeah,
Private
Born's
Ryan.
pretty
All
old.
the Kevin Smith
Yeah.
ones.
Where's
Well,
Tom
Kaylee could tell us.
When did Team America
Goodwill
happen?
Hunting is
Should I
definitely
go back?
Yeah,
happened by
yeah.
then.
Matt Damon.
He would have done all the Kevin Smith ones, like Dogma and stuff like that by that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
In
believe
which
actually.
case,
Yeah, he's gonna be.
What's that
famous.
one where it
There,
equates?
wasn't it?
It's where
Goodwill
he's-
Hunting.
Goodwill Hunting
must
he
have
would
come
have
out
done
by
by
then.
then.
Yeah,
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 because that
that's
was
what
one of the
it
first
is.
one he
That
did.
was
That's
an
before
amazing
Dogma.
good film,
Phenomenal
Goodwill
film.
Hunting.
That's with Robin Williams, isn't it?
Oh,
Yeah.
in 2003, he made that film called Stuck on You. Did anybody else watch
Oh,
it?
Oh,
God.
with Greg Kinnear.
Seen that,
That
no.
was
That
a
was
weird
terrible
Awful.
film.
You know, the original, just a bit of,
Yeah,
seeing as we're on trivia, the
Born
original
Identity.
draft of Goodwill Hunting had, in the middle of it, halfway through the film, a sex scene between Matt Damon and Ben Affleck's characters. And they decided on the production company by the first producer to mention it because they said none of the other people read the script. So they said, "Oh, we want to
remember hearing
produce your
about
film," and they said, "Oh, okay, yeah. Do you want to make any changes?" And they said, "No, it's fine as it is." And they said, "Right, okay, you didn't read the script."
Yeah.
So the first person to say,
Yeah,
"Yeah,
what was
there's
that scene about?
this scene right in the middle that kind of comes out of nowhere.
Right,
What
right,
the hell
right.
was that about?" And that's
Yeah.
how they decided on who to make the film.
That's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
He's done quite a lot of films up until this point.
I like that film.
Goodwill Hunting's a brilliant film.
It is
Yeah.
brilliant
It's
film.
really, really good.
I think that's up there and one of the ones that everyone should see.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
So good.
So yeah, so he was
Yeah.
obviously a big fan.
So he's such a big fan that he.
Such a big
his
fan.
name as well, David.
In fact, I think I'm gonna make a film and name one of the characters Oliver after Oliver Isaac.
Yeah.
Star Wars. Yeah,
By the way, Mel's obsessed with Oscar Isaac.
I love
Yeah.
him.
I have to
He's
say
her-
that
he's her
I'm
background
glad he
picture on the
did get the name
phone.
wrong because Mark Damon doesn't quite sound the same.
It doesn't, does it?
Matt Damon.
Maybe that's where he got the he misheard it from. He's going,
It doesn't
"Mark,
sound
yeah."
like Mark. does
I
it?
can't think of
Matt
anywhere where
Damon.
Is that why he introduced the character of Matt later on? Because he realised the
Yeah,
mistake.
he realised and rewrote
Oh
someone
my
else.
gosh,
yes,
sensitive
that's
one
so
to
And
be
that's why
Matt.
he's the righteous one. Because you know.
Yeah.
Maybe,
Amazing.
Matt Damon will save this film and all the people in it.
Brilliant.
From themselves.
Amazing. Okay, cool. Yeah.
So are we ready to move on from the room?
I think
I
this
think
is.
we
I mean,
need
this
to
is a.
just
As we
go
were saying,
like
this is a bad film, but it is
Hilarious.
hilarious and a cult classic, and it does get the stick because of the budget. Because me and my brother used to watch a lot of the Sci-Fi Channel late at night.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like from midnight to about 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
You just stay up and watch, and there's a lot of things on television that probably should never have been made ever.
Yeah.
But they're tiny little budget. You kind of forgive them a bit because they're tiny,
Yeah.
tiny little.
Yeah.
You know, it cost 10 grand, and they made Vampires versus Zombies or whatever.
I don't know. I can
Um,
forgive production value if it's bad for like an independent like.
But not if it
independent
costs
film,
6
but not
million.
The script, like I'm sorry, you can still
Yeah.
write a good script.
Yeah.
you
It
don't
cost you
need
anything to
tons
write.
of
Yeah, no,
money
it
to
doesn't
have
cost
a
you anything
good
to write a good script. Like, so that is, I'm less forgiving about. So,
No,
like,
I
in
don't
terms of
think you
this, it
spend
is a
that
very
money.
bad film, but I've got one that I think's worse.
Well, I would say one of the worst films I've ever seen is Vampires versus Zombies. And I want to ask people about their worst films, because that's the film me and my brother saw late at night. There's a lot of films I've seen late at night on Sci-Fi Channel which I absolutely love, even though they're terrible.
Yeah.
One I will show you guys at
Yeah.
some point is Swamp
Swamp
Zombies.
Yeah,
God,
You've
I
seen
like
Swamp
that.
I've
Zombies?
seen Swamp Zombies.
I used to have a VHS copy of it, but yeah, I need to get one.
There was a channel that was called like something like Point Horror or something like that.
Something
wasn't
like
it?
that, yeah.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
on
It
the
was
Horror
kind
Channel or
of the
Sci-Fi
far
Channel.
end of the cable.
Bad film.
Like bad films that are like so bad they are amazing.
Well, does The Room fall into this category? Is the question. I mean, we're all talking about it. Everyone
To be
watches it.
honest
People
with
watch
you,
it at the Prince
yeah,
Charles.
I
Over
would quite
10
happily
years,
go to
it's
the
still in
cinema. and
cinema.
watch
We've all
it.
said that. We've all
it
said
does
we
come
would.
to this one. I think this one does, and then what's the other one I watched? Detention of the Dead. That is stereotypically awful. It's got your stereotypes of your characters, the storylines weak. It's just awful, but it's so good because it's done on purpose. But that is on purposely done awful.
Yeah.
So I think what I want to do is, as we like watch the films, is put them up on the website with a kind of like rating, so people kind of know what the thoughts are.
Minus
Just, like,
stars.
the minus stars, or the whole like love to hate or do not rate kind of thing.
I think Rooms
And I
love to
think
hate.
Definitely love to hate.
Yeah, because you can't. It just. We wouldn't be talking about it if it wasn't.
Yeah.
You also can't stop watching it.
No.
As
No.
much as I wanted to,
Yes.
at many a
Much as the
point, I
moments where you're
needed
like,
to
"My
carry on.
eyes."
Yeah. And I think what we really need as well is like people to submit really bad films. To
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, we need more
So
suggestions.
we're just gonna like put that one out too.
Yeah, because we are going to make the bad film episode kind of come back and make a return.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to
Yeah,
return. I know what the next one I'm going to make you all sit down and watch is.
So,
Love,
Um,
you're
Are
finding
you
some
gonna
kind of
tell us?
sadistic pleasure out of this.
Yeah, I think we've all experienced the same thing really, haven't we, of saying before we started recording the podcast, if we're going to be watching some bad films, and have now got a list of bad films that people have
Yeah.
recommended.
You're gonna have
Yeah,
to
yeah.
make it like at least once a month thing.
I mean, we're gonna watch some amongst ourselves. Obviously, we'll might me up and think, but there's some specific ones we will sit down and watch, and then record the podcast immediately after.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know what the next one is.
I like the fact when I typed in Vampires vs Zombies into IMDb, it came up with Vampires vs Zombies as a film, as a TV episode, twice as a TV episode. Vampires vs Zombies, which was in 2014.
What?
Vampires.
Oh, with a Y,
I thought you
No.
said vampire.
the vampire.
I thought it was vampirates.
Vampires. Vampires.
Oh, vampires. Okay,
Zombies versus vampires. Zombies versus vampires again.
maybe it was zombies versus vampires or
Witches,
something like that.
vampires and zombies. Witches and vampires versus zombies. Zombies versus vampires, the battle. And vampires, zombies and werewolves. There we
Yeah.
go.
Wow.
If you want to talk bad experiences of film, then I want to tell you the only film. I mean, we got all the way through The Room. The
Yeah.
only film I've ever walked out of, actually walked out of the cinema, is The Tree of Life.
Yeah.
And that is on the greatest films of the century, of the 21st century
Really?
list. It's like number 9 or something. And it's the only film. I nearly walked out of Transformers, except I was with you guys, and I didn't want to like wander out and leave you all in there. Although The Tree of Life I walked out of when I was with Kaylee, and she didn't walk out.
Yeah.
So I left my girlfriend
That's
in
actually
the cinema.
I have this thing that no matter how bad I think the film is, if I've started it, I have to finish
It's
it.
very difficult
See, I-
to stop watching it.
I'm like that if I'm at the cinema because I'm like, no, I've paid for this. I'm
Yeah.
getting my money's worth.
So I'm
If I'm at
Money's
home, I'll
worth
turn it
of-
off.
I had the same
Depression.
thing with Transformers. I mean, I hate Michael Bay so much, but I ended up going up to see my friend Kat, who lived in Oldham, and we went into Manchester to watch the cinema. And on the walk from her house to the cinema, she just kept pointing out all the places that she had been stabbed, or somebody else had been stabbed, or the cousin got stabbed, and her uncle got stabbed. And then she said, and now we're going to go watch Transformers. And even though I thought it was the worst film, it's just a horrendous
just
piece of
Too
cinema.
scared to leave.
I just thought if I go, I'm going to get stabbed. So I'm just going to say it.
Is that how they convince people to stay in the cinema in Oldham? They organise hundreds of
Yeah.
stabbings.
She's actually part of the publicity team.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So-
I pretty much got so bored that I just kept like counting the cinema tiles, so I can tell you like how many cinema tiles there are in Manchester. Sort of that screen.
Well, getting back to The Room and how much money it costs to be just so bad, I think that is the problem I have with a lot of Michael Bay films, is that they cost huge amounts of money. They have huge budgets, but the action scenes and the things like that, they're just really boring.
Yeah. It's kind of,
My question
yeah.
is, who gives them all of this money?
The advertisers, that's why there's so much product placement in them.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
where all the
fair.
money
I
comes
think
from.
So. I mean, despite the fact that I know a lot of people who hate Michael Bay, I know a few people that do like Michael Bay that do. Well,
His films should be
consistently-
better.
I mean, they should.
They
be. And
he also
Transformers is coming out. The new one is coming out soon.
Transform.
Next
I
year,
think
not soon.
How many are there now?
it's
Just-
Transformers
I think
5.
five.
Seriously?
That's what my question is.
Is
Actually.
that show? Transformers 5? Seriously? It's actually not, because when the funny thing when you look up Transformers: The Last Night on IMDb is it just says plot unknown. And you
Yeah, that's
which
probably
was
how they
the-
go into the
I
film.
mean,
I
like,
think.
I'm pretty
The
sure
other
they don't
the other
actually
thing
know
is
what it
that Michael Bay also gets quite a lot of money from the American government, but the American military have to vet all of the scripts before they allow them to be made.
And they still allowed them to be. I think this is a problem of like.
No, but they
Well,
quite-
that's one of
they
the,
do
that's one of the
fetishize
reasons
the
they have so
military.
much kind of,
Yeah.
they glorify the US military so much is
Yeah.
because it has to get past them, and also why Avengers didn't get the money from the American military because they weren't willing to have the script vetted by.
So that's my question. If you could go back and do it all again, would you rather watch Transformers or get stabbed? I would choose stabbing, personally.
I think I'd take my chances on the stabbing, to be
Yeah,
honest.
me too.
I think.
This isn't a definite stabbing. This is a risk
Yeah.
of stabbing.
I would
risk
take,
of
I would
stabbing.
take Transformers, but then working for years as a theatre usher, I'm very good at blocking out whatever's going on in front of me now because I've watched shows so many times.
Yeah.
Even if it's a good show, sometimes you're just like, I can't be bothered to watch this again.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things. Actually, I think I take Transformers because what I don't like sometimes is people saying, "Well, that film is crap and that film is crap," but they haven't seen it. So the fact that I've seen Transformers, I think, gives me like everything I need to be able to say,
The
"I
right-
don't like Transformers, and here's why: because of this and this and this."
It gives you the right to complain about it.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, it's such a hard choice.
It's like Sophie's choice.
Transformers, stabbing.
Well,
Yeah. I'm sorry to anybody from Manchester. I don't necessarily mean everybody gets stabbed in Manchester. That's just my experience.
Just in that.
that's your
particular
experience of
area,
Manchester. That
apparently.
everyone you
Yeah,
know has
because
been
remember-
stabbed. So I asked you all to rack your brains, think of things that annoy you, things that irk you in films, things that just get on your tits. Tits a lot. inside joke at this point. Inside joke.
Can we splice wick over tits in every instance?
Wick,
of this?
yeah.
Yeah, I knew it.
Get your John Wick.
Just tropes and trends and just general things that annoy you in films. And we've got quite a varied list. Like I said before, no one's had any crossover. We all managed to pick
I
lots
can't
of
remember
different
what I
things.
said now.
I've got it on my
no.
phone, don't worry.
Oh, thank God for
I
that.
have my list.
Yes.
Is it extensive?
It's a little. We'll go around, but I will start, and I will start with something quite specific that really bugs me, and it's not. It bugs me even more because it's not necessarily been done badly. It's just, and I've talked about it on my video blog briefly, is that it's what I'm calling the Hannibal Lecter moment, which seems like films are obsessed with it. You catch a villain, a charismatic villain, stick him in a cage, and then he psychs out more of the heroes. And it's just, we all can agree that Silence of the Lambs is a really good film. I'd put it in my top 10 probably
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
of all time.
Yeah.
But it's really, it just grates on my brain every time I see it. And it's done all, the Avengers did it with Loki, Skyfall did it with Silver, and it worked. It's good, but why are we always doing it?
Yeah, they
Dark
needed
Knight
a
did it
good
as
idea.
well.
But in Loki,
Yeah.
they did with Loki. They did put a really good twist on that because Loki, you think Loki's psyching out Black Widow, but she's actually interrogating him. So
Yeah,
they
it
actually
worked
do-
well,
that
yeah,
one
yeah,
actually
yeah,
worked.
Yeah, it's the what is it? The Wounded Gazelle Gambit is the
Yeah.
thing like that. But again, Loki, the whole reason he's there is that's part of his plan to get captured.
Well,
by,
that's the thing. It
Yeah.
often goes hand in hand with the villain wanted to captured all along
Yeah.
plan.
Yeah.
Again with the Joker. That was what.
Yeah,
that's his-
which almost never makes sense.
Yeah.
There's almost never any logic to that plan. But yeah, it just every time it happens, it bugs me. It's like, why do we have to have? And it's bonus points if it's in a glass prison,
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah.
as Loki and Silver in Skyfall are.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I've got a
Yeah,
list.
he is,
There's sure
isn't
there's
he?
hundreds
Yeah,
other Yeah, and he's another Sylvan Skyfall.
I know that-
He wanted to be captured all along.
And it was an unbelievably complex plan that needed everything, even things he couldn't control or
Yeah.
see, to go
To magically
perfectly.
come into.
And the Joker, I think Gordon even says, he wanted me to lock him up in the MCU rather than take him downtown to the police station.
Yeah.
Because the whole plan wouldn't have worked if Gordon hadn't have decided to leave him in, his own kind of. I don't know what the MCU stands
But
for.
the Joker needed that bloke with the bomb in him to also be put in the same building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He needed one guy who he could rile up to be in the room with him.
Yeah.
So if he'd been taken back to his cell, presumably it wouldn't have worked. If they left him in the interrogation room, if they'd taken him back to the cell like they should have done,
Yeah.
it wouldn't have worked. He needed a shard of mirror, didn't he? So he needed at some point Batman to have hit him into the mirror like he did and broken a piece
Yeah.
off so that he could use it.
It all fell into place, magic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
And that's before the even actual plan for the whole city. That's just the
no,
escape.
that's just
Yeah.
his little
I
escape.
don't want to talk about this anymore because you're ruining this film.
I could ruin the Dark Knight for you.
Don't. I love it.
Okay,
Why
so
would
let's
you
move
do
on to the
this?
next one.
Who wants this? Jay, you had one. You had
The first one annoys me, and it's more prevalent in TV shows, but I've seen it going into movies. It's the whole idea of the overweight, idiotic, weird-looking husband, and it's always the super slim, super attractive wife. And it mainly annoys me because you never see it the other way around. And I know it's trying to be the message like, oh, looks don't matter. The attractive woman could go for the normal.
Yeah,
Looking
but
guy.
looks do matter if you're a
Yeah.
girl.
But it's never the other way around.
So
Yeah,
like
this
Homer
is-
Simpson and
Yeah,
Marge.
Homer Simpson, Marge.
um,
The
TV
Family
is very
Guy,
guilty of this.
Yeah.
Kevin
TV just
James,
always
every
does.
film he's in,
Yeah,
he always has
got
a
a hot girlfriend.
drop dead gorgeous girl, which is fine. She can go for the normal guy, but why do you never see the overweight?
Seth Rogen
like,
often
yeah.
gets
Yeah,
very,
like Seth Rogen.
very
he
attractive girlfriends.
meets
in,
Katherine
in
Heigl,
wives.
and within 30 seconds he's in bed with her. But you never see it the other way around, like normal-looking woman getting
With a
the
really hot guy, yeah.
yeah. It just,
And if you did, it
and
would be
re-
very much a comedy.
Yeah,
Are we starting to do that with like Melissa McCarthy?
that's the thing though, because in her show,
What has she had then?
she's normal because she's in that Mike and Molly, and they made a
Mm.
point of like they've got a guy that's bigger than her and like weird looking, so they can't give her like a normal. Why couldn't she be like her and Oscar Isaac or something?
No, I'm not having this.
He's
today.
from Oscar Isaac's from Mel.
It's because Mel vetoed it.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the only
Yeah,
reason.
not allowed.
She could have anyone else.
No, it's a weird trend in
Yeah,
it
TV.
is.
I don't know.
TV
The more I see
especially.
it, the more it
Yeah, that is.
bugs me. Like
it
you
is
could
really,
never
yeah.
have Melissa McCarthy. Like why couldn't she have ended up with Jude Law or someone in
Yeah, they
Smile
never
or
do.
whatever? It's always just like she fancies him, but he has to ridicule
They
her.
do it.
Yeah.
They do it
Yeah.
in film as well and stuff. Like when you look at stuff like The Holiday as well, because you've got always like the charismatic ones. You end up Jack Black with Kate Winslet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But then you've got Jude Law and Cameron
It,
Diaz.
Yeah.
it does start to see like wish fulfillment for fat ugly
Yeah.
blokes.
I actually can't
Yeah.
think.
And,
I can't think.
and
of a
Adam
single
Sandler as
TV
well.
Or,
Yeah.
No,
or
it's
where
like
she
a-
where
Very
is the
much
other way
an Adam
around.
Sandler.
the only
Yeah.
the other way around. That was that Shallow Hal where he sees her as attractive, but she's not.
Oh
yeah, and when he
Real
finds
life.
out
And
she's
again,
not
that's a-
Yeah, and
thin
it's all
and
for-
lovely,
But that
it's
still doesn't
I
terrible.
know,
It's
but
the
it's
other
all
way
for
around.
comedy to like mock the fact like, oh, she could never get a guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be
That's out
awful
of
if
her
he found out
league.
he was actually sleeping with this woman? I was like,
Yeah.
she's not
exactly.
that awful.
It's
like,
not that
what?
bad. I
No.
couldn't.
No, I think it's
Yeah.
a good one.
Yeah, that's a
that
good.
really. Yeah, it's always bugged me ever since Family Guy.
The thing is though, like,
Daniel
Because Lois is hot.
well, Family Guy is essentially a parody of Simpsons, and Simpsons was
yeah.
a parody of shows of its ilk at the time.
Yeah, exactly.
When it first started, so Simpsons was
It
kind
was
of a mocking it.
specifically the Waltons.
Hmm.
Because when they first started it, they wanted to make the Simpsons the absolute perfect Republican family because they had the husband who went out to work, they had the wife who stayed home and cooked home cooked meals. They didn't go out to eat fast food. They always said grace before they ate. They always went to church.
There were moral values as well. Like
Exactly,
I literally actually sometimes when I had PSL classes, like personal, social, religious education classes at school, we would sit there and watch 2 episodes of The Simpsons
Yeah.
because they're like, look, these are moral values. I'm like, yeah, okay, fine.
And then,
Yeah,
and even
that's good class.
when they had family crisis, Homer and Marge never divorced. I mean, and they had
Yeah,
never
no
married
matter
anyone
how
else.
bad he
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. and he got her pregnant, which is why they married. And as soon as she was pregnant, they got that was just assumed that they would get married and carry on. And so yeah, it was supposed to be simultaneously the nightmare and everything that the Republicans had asked for out of a family.
Yeah.
Mel, you've got one.
Me, I have, and I've mentioned this before in a review that I did for Acting Hour. Lovely film called Insurgent. Oh, I don't have any issues
Oh,
with
I
this
know
film.
where you're going with this.
But it does happen a lot, especially when you've got strong female characters, and that's not necessarily actually strong female characters. Just some dude has decided he should write a strong female character. And it is just, they go through some level of trauma or depression or anything like that, and they come out the other side of it and they need to feel stronger, and their first idea is to cut off all of their hair. Because in order to feel stronger, you do have to look completely different and more like a man by having shorter hair, obviously. But the thing that really gets me with all of it is not just that. It is every time they do it, it's always a girl in like a situation where she can't go to the hairdressers and get all of her hair cut off.
Yeah.
She has to, like Insurgent, cut it off with a tiny piece of mirror, and jagged, blunt scissors, and by the end of it, she ends up with a really cute pixie cut, guys.
Ah.
Like, how does
It happens
that
in the
even
Power Rangers
happen?
trailer.
Yeah,
Happens
it
in the
does.
Power Rangers
I was just
trailer.
about to say that in
Yeah.
the Power Ranger trailer. They literally
Yeah.
Because no matter how much you mess with your looks, you still need to look pretty at the end of it.
It's kind of.
as well, because like even in even in other films where it's not based on like the whole strong woman thing, you have like in The Bourne Identity, like with is it Maria?
Yeah.
The girl?
Yeah.
They have to like disguise her, so she has to die and cut off all of her hair.
Yeah.
There's no way in hell that hair she ends up with was cut by Matt Damon's character.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the other.
He
Yeah.
doesn't change his appearance at all.
Yeah,
they're
the-
chasing
yes.
him more
Yeah,
than her.
they're looking for him, and he
I mean, he
doesn't
can at least
change it
grow
at
a
all.
beard.
Yeah.
Put a hat
I
on
want
or
to see the
something
remake
like
of
that.
that now, where he changes his hair and he has like a giant red afro or something different, and her hair stays the
But
same.
you'd think he'd at least maybe, get a bit of stubble.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Just,
Like a really fake beard.
yeah.
or then shave
exactly.
it off again, change your
Yeah.
appearance. But no,
It's
just
a bit like, it's the opposite of the story of Samson, where he loses all his strength when his hair gets cut off.
Yes,
As
it's
soon as you
the
cut her hair
opposite,
off,
Samson.
then suddenly she's just,
She's strong.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
even
I'm
do it in
looking-
animation.
Yeah.
Tangled.
Wow.
Although,
They,
do you know-
technically, she doesn't cut it off.
No.
Tangled makes me laugh though,
I love
just
that film.
because it is like the magical life-giving hair that she has before is beautiful and blonde and long, and then when she
Yeah.
cuts it off and it becomes dead and no longer magical, it's brown, because everybody knows that brown hair is just dull
Nothing
and does
wrong with
nothing.
brown hair.
It's terrible, Lydia. You
It
have
just
no
has
magical
no
qualities
magic.
whatsoever.
No, your head doesn't glow
Go
when you
out.
sing.
I'm magic on the inside.
It's not what your hair says.
Well, no, but to be fair, mine's starting to get as long as Rapunzel's now. It's a bit
Right.
ridiculous.
Cut it off and you might turn ginger.
Yeah.
If I
exactly.
wasn't
Yay.
filming, I would love to. I can't wait till I finish filming so I can chop my hair off.
Right.
Shave it.
Cool. So,
Anywho.
yeah.
Matt, you are not a fan of foreshadowing.
yes. It's.
He foreshadowed.
I thought yes.
Oh, we should have a bit where I just before we start this, I go, before we bring in this, I just want to really obviously bring up these four shadows that seem to have fallen across the table. Oh well, never mind. I'm sure that will never come up again. So Jay, what were you saying? And they just come back to it. Yeah, foreshadowing is it seems to have happened fairly recently, where now everything. I don't know if someone in film classes or something like that, somebody's got into their head. Foreshadowing is the most amazing film technique that you can ever think of. It really came to a head to me while watching the third Matrix film, where I kind of sat through the first half of it and I thought, okay, I know exactly how this is going to end. And I turned to our mate, because we were watching it in a big group, I turned to my mate Alan and I said, this is how this film's going to end. And he said, shut up, Matt, because he really likes all those kind of films. He's got really appalling taste, Alan. But yeah, that really gets me, is when, and they do it so, do it so painfully obviously as well. So, someone can't just kind of leave the keys to the whatever, the Batmobile or something on the table. Yeah, I have to leave the keys and then you have to focus intently on the keys for a good few seconds
Yeah.
before they
In case
leave.
you
Why
missed
we're
this
staring
point,
at
just,
Yeah.
just let me reiterate that.
It's absolutely unsubtle and go, this is the last part of the film here. Remember this. It will be important in about half
Speaking
an hour.
of speaking of
Yeah.
the Batmobile, did you know that the Batwing doesn't have an autopilot? That's
Yes.
that's important. Yeah. Yeah, you can fix it later. No, it doesn't have an autopilot. Goes, oh, can I do that? No, I don't have an autopilot.
Yeah.
Does it like 4 times in that
Well,
movie.
the Batman versus Superman Batmobile, actually, I saw it there because they had it in Odeon in Leicester Square for a while, and it actually is operational, and all the guns and things do come out, and it actually is a full-blown prop car. Like, it actually works.
Yeah.
Say
That's cool.
operational, as in you could just blow
Like,
up Leicester
yeah.
Square. Or...
That's not advisable.
I think
That's frowned on.
I think
Yeah, I
possibly,
wouldn't
don't
advise
know
that one.
I think possibly the root of it was actually something like The Usual Suspects, in which the foreshadowing technique is done really, really well.
Yeah.
Because there are
Yeah.
loads of things, right, the last scene where he looks around and he realises the whole thing's been made up by verbal
Verbal
hint.
hint, yeah.
And a lot of the things are things that he should have known, but actually they're not foreshadowed because the audience doesn't know it. But there are things that you should have kind of picked
Yeah.
up through
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And that was done really, really well. And, that kind of loved it. But yeah, the kind of bit where there's kind of one thing in the scene, all the characters leave, and then we just focus on one thing, and it's...
Or like
It's
Fight,
just
like
too
Fight Club.
heavy-handed now,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, like
And
Fight
it
Club.
is.
It's ludicrously obvious in Fight Club that
Yeah.
Tyler Durden isn't real. It's
Yeah.
ludicrously obvious when you watch it a second time, but you
Yeah.
don't notice it the first
I
time.
Yeah.
only recently watched that for the first time, and I actually kind of had suspicions that something wasn't quite right, but when it happened, I was like, oh yeah.
When did you
But, like-
realise that Tyler Durden wasn't real?
Oh gosh.
Because the bit for me was when, Jack, who you don't really know, the narrator,
Yeah.
you don't really know his
Yeah.
name, is in his in the office of his boss, and he's beating himself up.
Yes.
And where it
Yeah,
said, for some reason, I thought back to to my first
Yes.
fight with Tyler. I thought,
Tyler-
right, okay, Tyler's
that's
definitely
it,
not real.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
Yeah, I
he's-
think
he's-
that's probably about where
that's
I
the-
kind of clocked
But
it.
he hallucinates Tyler like 3 times in the first 20 minutes of that
Yeah.
film, and you
Yeah.
kind of don't notice.
Yeah.
Well, you
yeah.
do.
You're like,
What it
oh,
was-
he's seeing
Yeah.
things. He's seeing things.
Yeah,
like,
Tyler appears. So like as he's going up an escalator,
Yeah.
Tyler comes down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of bits where they splice in
flashes.
things
Yeah.
like that, which they were going to do as subliminal frames, but actually subliminal frames are illegal, so they had to make it really obvious. So it kind of flashes
Yeah.
in place.
Yeah.
So if they'd have got rid of that one, I'd have been really happy with the kind of the subtle foreshadowing in that.
Yeah.
That would have been
Yeah.
much
Because
better.
they do foreshadow it with the Tyler's job at the cinema is to splice in
Yeah.
Yeah.
things just the same
Yeah.
as that. Like
Yeah.
I
he
mean, to be
splices
fair, I do
things
think
in.
that Batman Fight Club is actually really well done.
It is.
Yeah.
Fight
Obviously,
Club's
it's probably
one of my
obvious the second
favourite
time round,
films.
but as someone who's quite fresh to that film, it's very well
Like
done.
in hindsight, lots of things are obvious.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
if you watched it the
Exactly,
first
yeah.
time round and you didn't really guess it until
And
the end, then
that's-
it's not that obvious.
I mean,
is it?
I got it before the end, but it was close enough that I still
Did it?
kind of
Yeah.
got the reveal. I was like, oh, and I
Yeah.
I
There
clocked
wasn't-
it just in time. but
There
I
wasn't
mean,
a
so
point
many
in the
stuff.
script where they said, okay, this is the bit where the audience realises
No.
this.
Yeah.
And the bit where it kind of creeps up on you, I'm fine with that kind of foreshadowing.
Yeah.
It's the bit where you go, right, okay, now this is where the audience needs to do it, and they make
Yeah.
it really, really obvious the first time you see
Yeah.
it.
But I think
Yeah, you're
that
like
kind of
spoon-feeding.
depends on what your brain's like as well, though, because like the amount of times I've been to the cinema with people recently, and there's like a kind of a big reveal, or like there's a twist at the end of the film,
Yeah.
and like people that I've been with have been like, oh my god, that was so clever, like oh my god, and stuff, or they've seen it, like the twist happen, they've gone like next to me, and I'm like, I've known this for about an hour.
Yeah.
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 But
Yeah.
they've had no idea. So
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe that's just my brain.
No, Lydia, the lesson is stop going to the cinema with stupid people.
I'm not stupid.
What we've established is
I
that
mean,
all Lydia's
some-
friends are stupid.
No. That includes you guys.
We're
Not in
more
this
than
room.
others.
Not in this room.
But I mean, all the things that I found annoying and I put on my list were things that
We just said you're
kind
my
of lift me
friends.
up out of the experience of the
Yeah.
film. So you kind of think, oh, I'm watching a film, rather than
Yeah.
just kind of...
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
like-
stuff
experiencing
like
the
not even
story.
just with film, like was it The Woman in Black? The theatre. I went because I worked there at the show and stuff, and I deliberately made sure I avoided the film completely until I saw the show first, because I always wanted to watch that first.
Yeah.
And so I was there, and one of the ushers like came up to me at the end and was like, oh, did you get it? And I was like, I knew exactly what was going on before the interval.
Yeah.
But
Is there a twist in that? Isn't really? Is there? Or is
there
there?
is,
Oh no,
yeah.
yeah, there is.
Yeah,
Yeah, right. I know what you mean.
especially
yeah,
the
yeah.
stage show, not the film.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah, it's not exactly hidden though. It's fairly.
No, it's not exactly hidden. Like if you can think outside the box of it,
Yeah.
you're probably going to get it.
And it's still
but
interesting.
Most people
Yeah.
don't.
There's a term which is
Yeah.
a very complicated word. Sorry, I never say it. It's a verisimilitude or something like that, where it means a willing suspension of disbelief,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it's a kind of you're able to put yourself, almost anaesthetize yourself to the fact that you're watching a film or reading a book or things like that. You kind of just immerse yourself in things like that. And what I hate are things that bring me up out of that.
Yes, I'm
And
with you on
the
that.
kind of very
100%.
egregious foreshadowing
Yeah.
is one of
Like,
the things
I'm
that does
with
that to
you
me.
on
Has everyone seen Kiss Kiss Bang Bang?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the bit in that where he actively, Robert Downey Jr. pauses the film midway because someone mentioned a location. He's like,
Oh,
this is
yeah.
like Hunt for Red October, when they're like, oh, this nuclear power plant's being built outside thing. I wonder if that'll come back later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they just randomly mention a place that you know, and automatically that's where the end of the film's gonna
Yeah.
Yeah.
be. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
terrible.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that one.
Kaylee, pick a point from your list.
Oh my gosh, I haven't.
Haven't you-
Narrow it down,
I
Kaylee.
want quite a lot of things on my list, but I think like leading on to what Matt says, one thing that really annoys me, and I notice it, and I think it's not like when normally it's like a two shot of people, and you're supposed to be looking at one person. You know that the close-up's on them, but out of the corner of the shot you can see the other person who's talking and the other person's reacting, and it's out of sync.
Yeah.
That's a technical issue
God,
then.
And
yes.
it's more of a technical thing, but it always brings me out of the film every time I notice it.
It's really irritating.
It does.
Every time I see it, it makes me kind of go, oh, they couldn't have just chosen one where it wasn't.
Yeah, they've
Why is
spliced the
that
other
so-
person's reaction from another moment because they thought it
Yeah.
worked better.
And
Or just cut the frame.
yeah, exactly.
Don't
And
show
it's-
their mouth as much.
I feel like it's such an easy fix that they don't need to be in there, and it makes me
So
sometimes
sorry, is
come-
it the person speaking doesn't?
So it's
They-
It's
doesn't
like
sync
if
up
we're
with-
like this.
They cut to the
Yeah.
person
You'll
reacting.
be reacting, and I'll be saying what I'm saying now, but my lips will be saying something
Something
completely
else,
different,
right,
like
yeah.
it's out of sync.
Yeah,
That's
they
really
wanted
annoying.
your reaction from a different part of
Yeah.
the scene.
yeah.
So you're not meant to
but
be
they
looking
filmed.
at
They
me.
didn't film me up in close up. They filmed.
Yeah,
to
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Right, I see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
that really bugs me.
Happens a fair amount.
And yeah, whenever I notice it, I kind of like will nudge you and say about it, and you'd be like,
I don't think. Yeah,
Get off me!
You should describe the arm movement you just did.
yeah. So it was just like,
Chick-
yeah,
chicken wing.
Kind of like it's
wing,
chicken
like,
with a broken
"Oh, be
wing.
gone, Shoo.
yeah. So that's quite short. So I could like pick another point if you want.
Well, I don't find continuity errors. That's in that same sort of vein.
Yeah,
that
it's
That's
annoying
one of mine.
because I find them kind of funny.
Oh, it depends on what they are. Like
Yeah.
sometimes they're funny, sometimes they're fun to spot. But
The Room
sometimes
had
they're
a
just
lot.
plain
The Room did
irritating.
have a
There
lot.
are,
Let's not
if it's a
start
simple
with The Room.
fix, it always takes me out of the thing. Like things
Yeah.
are simple. Like there's so many films. You'd be surprised how many films there are where people have binoculars
Yeah.
and they're looking through the wrong way.
Yeah.
Like literally,
That's
even
such
in
an easy
Jurassic
fix.
Park, where I think it's the second one, Jeff Goldblum's looking through binoculars, and he picks it up and he's looking through the big end
Yeah.
out the small end. And it's like, how long would it
It's
take
all right.
to
The
go
T-Rex
cut,
is miles
turn
away.
around,
Yeah.
and then film it
Yeah.
again? It's
Well,
not
there are
hard.
some that are really funny, like Braveheart, when they're running across the field, and he's running, and he's got an axe, and then it cuts away, and it's back, and he's got a sword, and it's back, and then it cuts away, and it's back, and he's got nothing, and then the sword's back, and then it's an
And then
axe
it's a
again.
Pepsi
Yeah.
cup.
And this is all in one run across the field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is just Braveheart. So that's kind
He's just
of
like,
funny.
don't want this.
Also, like Sean Bean dying in Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah.
Is literally
Oh,
like
yeah.
his hand is on the back of Aragorn's neck, then it's not, then it is, then it's not, then it's not, then it is, then from the front and the back, and it's just that's like ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
and do you know what? I didn't notice it the first couple of times I watched the film because I was so involved in the film. But now I've seen it, I can't unsee it.
Yeah.
And so that just
Yeah.
ruins that scene
Yeah,
for me,
but
and it's
it's
such a
a
good
continuity
scene.
error
I've s-
and something like that. It's,
Yeah.
There's a it's not really a continuity area. It's a kind of crew in shot one, but
I
there's
love
one
those.
in the. It's actually quite hard to see first off, but once you know it's there, you spend the entire scene looking for it.
spending time ruining
And
people
it's
there.
in Jurassic Park.
It's when they come into the kitchen, isn't
Yeah, the
it?
raptors come
Yeah.
into the
Oh.
kitchen, and it's a really tense scene. It's very, very, very good. But there's a bit where the raptors kind of walk through the door, and there's a guy's arm holding up the raptor's tail. Because it is quite small and
Isn't
kind
there
of not
another
out
one
for
in
We're all
that
gonna
scene
go
where
watch
that
it
you
now.
can literally see a cameraman in full shot underneath one of the shelves as well?
Yeah, I think so.
So
Yeah.
that's two in one scene alone.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure in 28 Days Later, there's a bit where like, is it Jim, the older guy, the dad? I can't remember his name. But no, Jim's the other one, the older guy, the taxi driver.
Yeah, yeah.
He gets the blood in his eye and like starts to turn, and then the soldiers come in and do their thing, and then it kind of zooms out to a further off shot, and it looks like it's a soldier like lying on a hay bale, but it's not. It's a like guy with a boom or a camera or
Yeah.
something. Like
Yeah.
like literally like you're talking right up to his legs in shot, and it's like
Yeah.
but it's not so noticeable because it could quite easily. It looks like it could be a soldier, so
Yeah.
it's not too bad, but. No, ones that really wind me up, the ones that I find really annoying about, is stuff like liquid levels in glasses that go up and down.
Yeah.
Or clocks.
Clocks, and there's one in there's a film called 27 Dresses, which I watched a while back. There's a bit in there where she's putting his tie on,
Yeah.
and he's got his collar up, and at 1 minute the ties as she's putting on the tie on, and it keeps cutting from like her view to him, and then back around the back again. Every time it goes around, like 1 minute the tie's like on, and it's like the right way around, and then it's flipped over so the seam's showing, and then it's like backwards and forwards so the seam keeps coming in and out, and I'm like, really? You don't know how to put a tie on the right way round?
Actually,
There's no
The
excuse
other
for
one
that.
like that is, and it's always with girls with long hair, of they'll be doing a scene and you'll have the shot of their face, and at one point, it's like mine is now, where both sides of their hair are in front of their ears, and then in the next shot, one's tucked behind their ears, and the next shot, it's back in front of their ear again, and you're like,
I can beat that one.
okay.
The film Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid. Anyone seen that?
Steve
No, but
Martin.
I'm liking the sound of it.
It's Steve Martin doing a comedy version of film noir, where he takes hundreds of clips from actual film noirs and kind of acts into the. It's
very clever.
It's incredibly technically brilliantly done, but they had to be really careful of continuity. And at one point, he's talking to John Wayne essentially. So he is talking to him, but he's also playing John Wayne and talking and things like that. So they had to have an absolutely perfect, wig to do his over-the-shoulder shot like that. And said, this must be, because this will be really, really obvious if it goes wrong, if it's even, kind of slightly out, because they're cutting backwards and forwards to it so much. And so they did that, and they broke for lunch, and then came back and finished the scene. At the end of it, while they were editing, they went through and they watched it, and they said, oh shit, halfway through that scene, when they broke for lunch, Steve Martin took his wig off, put the wig on again, and they put it on backwards.
Oh my god.
And then, so they said, oh, we have to do the thing again, this has gone wrong. And then the makeup said, but Steve didn't take his wig off. When he went for lunch, he kept his wig on. We didn't move it at all. They went back to the film, and in the original, with John Wayne, when John Wayne went for lunch, he took his wig off and they put it on backwards. So the continuity error is from the original film.
Oh my god. That's amazing.
It doesn't exist.
Oh, wow.